Hello and welcome to the Modern Customer Podcast. I'm your host, Blake Morgan. My guest is Nalin Gupta, the founder and CEO of Cignara. Cignara is building AI powered voice and chat agents that automate customer support for large B2C enterprises. Nalin is a two-time Y Combinator founder. Previously, he founded Oro Robotics, a self-driving car startup that went through Y Combinator, raised venture funding, and was acquired by RideCell. He was recognized on the Forbes 30 Under 30 list and now focuses on building enterprise AI systems that automate complex customer conversations with accuracy and empathy. I serve on the advisory board of Cignara and am pleased to welcome Nalin. Nalin, so nice to see you. Welcome to the Modern Customer. And it's so rare that I've had someone on the show that I've gotten to have coffee with in person. So great to see you again.
Thank you for having me. I'm really super excited for our conversation today. Thank you.
So you are tech entrepreneur innovator. You have a new company called Bujo, but you've already had other companies that do robotics and self-driving software. So you are an expert on AI. Talk about a little bit about your career and how you got to this place with Bujo.
Yeah, so this Bujo is my third startup. Before this, I had another startup in AI robotics space. We built self-driving cars, one of the very first companies in the US to commercially deploy autonomous vehicles. We went through Y Combinator startup program back in 2015, raised a bunch of venture funding. At one point of time, we had our own fleet of autonomous vehicles working on public roads. Fast forward, we got acquired by a big transportation company. And during my time there, I created a couple of other AI products, one of them being a visual search engine for video data, and sold it to a lot of enterprise companies. After that, when this chat GPT movement came around, I started tinkering with new applications in the realm of LLM. And that journey basically took me to what I'm building now, which is AI agents for doing CS and customer support. But I've been working in this AI space for almost 10, 15 years now, and super excited to the the new wave of AI coming up and how it is impacting every single piece of software and consumer applications out there.
So one of the things I was interested in, I'm just disclosure, I'm an advisor to Nolan's company. So you are backed by Y Combinator, which is not easy to do. Would you be able to share with us the process of like presenting your tech to companies like Y Combinator and what their reaction was?
Yeah, so this is actually my second time doing Y Combinator. And for those who are listening to this podcast who do not know what Y Combinator is, it is a startup incubation program based here in San Francisco. It has been the fund and the incubator behind some of the greatest companies out there, including Airbnb, DoorDash, Instacart. All these great companies have come out of Y Combinator. In fact, OpenAI was incubated first at Y Combinator, and then it is spun off into an independent company. And Sam Altman, who is the current founder and CEO of OpenAI, he was the president of Y Combinator before he started OpenAI. I've been fortunate to be within the Y Combinator startup program. I did it for the first time back in 2015 for my previous company, self-driving cars, and now Bujo is again incubated at Y Combinator. I think going back to the question that you asked, which is what is the process of applying to Y Combinator and how does it happen? What they really look for is companies who are trying to make a real dent in the world and founders who have what it takes to build $1 billion company. I think those are the key characteristics that they look for, and they have funded all type of companies in the past, including very deep tech, including robotics, genetics, defense tech, as well as consumer applications, including like food delivery applications like DoorDash and consumer apps. They support all type of applications as long as the company is really going after an ambitious big market, and the founders have what it takes to build formidable companies.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's talk about Bujo. Let's talk about what makes it different because there's so many AI chats, conversational, agentic, whatever you want to call it. There's so many out there. What makes yours different?
There are a couple of interesting things that we do which we haven't found in other players in the market. One of them being building this sort of a knowledge graph about related to enterprises, products, and services being offered. So what we do is basically we collect every piece of information that an enterprise might have related to their products and services by scraping their PDF docs, website content, Excel sheets, internal documents, Slack, everything. And we scrape it, correlate it, aggregate it, deduplicate it, sanitize it. We run it through this entire pipeline to create some sort of a knowledge graph, which basically includes all the products, their description, their interdependencies between each other, their pricing, promotions, upselling logic, all of that thing. And once you have that, it makes your AI customer support agent much more intelligent because it now has a lot more context about all the products and services that you sell, which opens up new use cases such as doing sales, telemarketing, upselling, preventing churn, and all those things. So that is something very unique that we do, which we haven't seen in a lot of other players in the market.
Hmm.
Second thing that we very differently is having a very high tech methodology for include for doing human in the loop feedback and doing this post training reinforcement learning feedback. So every single time AI generates an answer, there are automated as well as manual QA processes which look at the response and the reasoning trace of how AI arrived at a particular answer. And we believe that once you provide feedback on how the reasoning, step by step reasoning of LLMs and AI should happen, you can fix everything downstream. So we provide this feedback on the reasoning traces of AI. And once the feedback had been provided, we include that in our post training framework so that AI adheres to that reasoning or the correct way of thinking for all the future conversations. And that has been very instrumental for us in improving the accuracy of our AI conversational agents from the default 60-70% to all the way to 90-95%. So that has been something which is working very good. And I think in the third point I would say over here is we have built a lot of our processes and platform in a way that is conducive for Fortune 500 companies. Right? There are a
Hmm.
lot of players out in the market which are making these plug and play solutions for SMBs and small players. But these big Fortune 500 companies, they have very unique requirements in terms of millions of conversations scale that they handle at a scale, security and compliance requirements, GDPR compliances, guardrails to prevent the brand identity and brand voice. They have strict requirements around the different workflows that can happen. Like a company might have more than 50 workflows depending on which scenario, which customer geography, zone, membership plan, etc., etc. So handling this complexity for the scale of Fortune 500 companies requires a very different level of platform infrastructure and thinking, and that is also something that sets us apart from other players in the market.
Hmm. Yeah, it sounds like the infrastructure really does accommodate the Fortune 500 companies better. They could trust you. You provide the scale. What is something that practitioners and CX leaders are getting wrong, like assumptions made?
One thing that we have seen is over indexing on the fact that they can just use plug and play system is something that we see a lot of business leaders make a lot of mistake. AI is only as good as the data that you
Hmm.
feed it in. And what it requires is it requires an AI company to work very closely with their enterprise to document their workflows, to document their internal knowledge base, to build in the brand voice, to build in the evaluation process that would help them increase the efficiency of the AI agents, to build in these QA processes with human in the loop feedback. So all of these small things require a lot of work, and that is something that a lot of business leaders tend to skip, especially when you hear on Twitter or on LinkedIn that hey, you can just hook together a couple of APIs from different AI providers and build it yourself. No, like it requires a lot of these things which really take a lot of time and careful engineering in order to get it right.
It's interesting because all of us are using like Anthropic's Claude or ChatGPT in our personal lives. And then we're
Yeah.
watching these businesses kind of fumble and awkwardly create these technologies that are similar in essence as the ones we're using in our personal lives. Do you think in a few years everything will be different? The business will be offering an experience more like Claude's Anthropic to the customer?
I think in some cases it's already happening. For example, we work with a couple of retail players, and they are already thinking about this conversational agent being the primary means or primary medium of doing e-commerce and shopping. They are no longer thinking of this customer support chatbot as just a support chatbot or a sales chatbot. They are thinking of it as if the entire commerce is going to happen through this two-way interactive conversation with the shopper and the company. So companies are already thinking about how this conversational interface can become their primary interface. Just like 20 years ago we had phone call. You People used to call some 800 number to make a online order, and then after that we had these static websites, and then we had interactive websites, social media commerce, and now I think the new wave is this conversational commerce using AI agents. And I would have loved to ask you as well. You have been talking to so many CX leaders and giving talks. So, what is the thought process behind these CX leaders when it comes to implementing AI? I've seen that in the market, some leaders they want to go all the way with AI from the very beginning, and some of the leaders they want to take a little bit more cautionary approach, which is, hey, let AI act as an assistant to my human staff, and then over the time we'll gradually increase the role and the scope of AI. What do you think, like how the from your conversations, how the leaders are thinking about it?
So I recently had a podcast with the former transformation leader at Aramark. They're a hospitality company. If you ever go to a football game or a concert and you go
Yeah.
to the concessions and you eat like hot dogs and things, like they provide all of that. They do it for college campuses and hospitals. Like it's a huge multinational conglomerate, Aramark. You've probably seen their trucks driving on the freeway.
Yeah.
And so when he led transformation there, he said that you should really have an experience strategy. Don't worry about an AI strategy. In fact, don't have an AI
Hmm.
strategy. And that was really interesting
Yeah.
because with any technology innovation, we tend to get really excited about the tech and less excited about creating human experiences and how we make people feel. So I think that was an interesting perspective from a very influential person.
I think that totally makes sense. Ultimately, all the technology, whether it's AI or anything else, it is there to serve a particular business objective or a customer experience. And I think keeping that as a true north aligns everyone in the right direction. Totally makes sense. That
Yeah.
that reminds me of a similar conversation I had with one business leader. He was chief customer support officer for a big enterprise, and what they have been able to successfully position is they've been able to position their customer support department as a growth and retention department. And every customer complaint that they see, they have been able to not only address that customer concern, but also flip around that customer into a customer that has subscribed to something or have bought an upsold item or prevented the churn and things like that. And this was interesting for me because now this customer support department is being viewed as a growth department. And I
Yeah.
think applications like AI can really accelerate that particular front, because now you have so much knowledge that you can feed to AI agents that can look at that particular customer with a 360-degree view rather than just from a customer support narrow viewpoint. And I think that was also very powerful.
Yeah. Growth. Now, contact centers can be growth engines and they can
Yeah,
upsell and cross sell because they have the help of AI to help make sure they're not missing the mark, right?
exactly.
So, talk about the future of customer experience with me for a minute. Sometimes I have these moments where I feel like, Nolan, like, are we even going to have customer service and experience in the future? Like, is this as a topic going to just evolve into something else completely because of AI?
In many ways, yes. I dream of a future where all of us would have a single number that I can just call to, and within 2 seconds, that phone number already figures out whether I want to talk to Enterprise A, Enterprise B, or Enterprise C, and it already has APIs connected to all these enterprises, and it can give me the answer or help me resolve the concern right away. I no longer have to play this game of trying out 10 different 800 numbers and trying to figure out which 800 number actually gets me to the right department or the right team within a particular company, right? I think with this technology, we really can achieve that. And that is the future that we are trying to build, where starting with working with individual enterprises, but ultimately, I think the consumers of today, they deserve more. And no business wants to put their consumers through this pain of putting them on hold for 10-15 minutes before getting to a point where they can be heard. So I think the future of customer support will look way different. And as you rightly said, it may not be called customer support, it may be customer experience or customer delight department in a way.
You know, it's so funny. I've been thinking about so much lately. I have an LLC for my business, and the Secretary of State, sometimes you have to call and deal with things
Yeah.
with payments, things like that, taxes. And when I call the call center, which I believe is pretty much the only way, they allow you to
Yeah,
register, but it's very difficult
yeah,
digitally. Honestly, I couldn't even figure it out in an easy way. So I just said, screw it. They're like,
yeah,
in the call center, there are 110 callers ahead of you.
yeah,
Would you like
yeah.
a call back? And then they never call you back. It's shocking. I feel like you should go to Sacramento and walk into the government buildings there and be like, "I'm here to help you." Can you imagine
Yeah,
100 there's 110 callers ahead of you, and this is the Secretary of State of California.
exactly. The government especially can benefit a lot from this AI, especially because, all these budget constraints that the government has, and, more and more people are becoming more digitally advanced, and they are adopting these digital ways of accessing government services, which puts more pressure on these government resources. We are actually working with a couple of government agencies still in early stages, but that is something we are very excited to work upon.
Yeah, have you seen any early progress with those use cases?
Those conversations are happening, but as you know, like government contracts, they take a very long time to happen. So we are having active discussions with couple of government.
So where do you see the biggest shift that's going to happen in the next year because of AI in the customer experience discipline? If there's one big shift you see coming, what is it?
I think the conversations are going to become way more natural and human like. Of course, we already have seen a huge amount of progress of since what they were 3 4 years ago. 3 4 years ago, all of us had very deterministic workflows of what to say, what when to say, in which scenario. After LLMs and in the current era, we using reasoning models and state of the art LLM models, we were able to make much more progress in flexible workflows. But still, like I think any smart consumer or customer would be able to figure out whether it's a human which they are talking or an AI that they're talking. I think in 1 or 2 years from now, things are going to become way more human like. And that requires a lot of engineering. It requires a lot of training, post training on what a human conversation looks like, what teaching LLM models empathy and teaching LLM models how not to be very much 100% compliant to the rule, but also have some sort of a wiggle room in case there are edge cases, or in case you see that, hey, this customer is really in a very stressful situation, let me take a little bit of divergence from my rule book in order to help this customer. Ultimately, um, AI or any other technology, they should serve the end goal rather than follow the rule book, right? I
Mhm.
think that's the ultimate goal. And current LLM models, they're very, very rule focused. I will give you an analogy to explain my point in a little bit better way. In my previous company, we were building self-driving cars. Now, a very common rule of any car driving on a public road is you should not never cross the yellow line or yellow partition in middle of the road. That's a standard rule, and that's the rule that everyone follows. But you know if there's a delivery truck which is parked, which is double parked on the road, it will block all the traffic behind it. The only way you can continue the traffic moving forward is you take a slight divergence through the yellow double line in order to bypass that the truck which is double parked. Now, this is not exactly 100% strictly rule compliant, but you do that because that's a practical way of doing it. The same sort of intelligence we need to bring into AI and LLMs, where they are following the rule as a structure, but they're able to have some sort of a wiggle room just like humans have. And I think that's the primary reason why, as customers or consumers, we want to talk to a human, because we feel that, hey, human would understand me, they would listen to me, and they would react to me in a way how humans would react to me, instead of an AI which is very much rule based and which is very much like, if A then this, if B then this, if C then this, and there's no scope of pleading or arguing or convincing the AI model. And I think that's a bigger transition that I think is going to happen in the next 1 or 2 years, where AI agents are going to become way more intelligent and way more similar to what good humans provide customer support and sales.
So we're reaching the end of our time together before we do rapid fire. Really quickly, Nalan, who is Bujo for?
It is for Fortune 500 companies, primarily serving B2C customers who receive millions of calls or chat requests from consumers all over the world.
All right, let's do some rapid fire before I let you go, Nalan. First question, what's the most important part of your morning routine?
Meditation.
Nice. What do you do to relax at the end of a hectic day?
Well, I'm really into making short films. So I've made some short films in the past. I think we discussed about it when we met in LA. That's one of the things that I enjoy as a creative outlet.
And in a similar vein, what TV show are you currently streaming?
That's a good one. I of course binge watch on Friends and all those 90s shows. Right now, in terms of TV series, what I'm binge watching. Oh, the Night Agent. I
Hmm.
think that is something that I started watching a couple of days ago. Oh, by the way, on the TV shows, I really want to make a shameless plug for Altered Carbon. That's a sci-fi, but one of the best sci-fis I think I've ever watched. On
Yeah,
it's available on Netflix. If
I've seen it.
if you guys are into sci-fi and adventure, Altered Carbon is really amazing.
Love it. What's your idea of perfect happiness?
Contentment.
Mm-hmm.
I
Love it.
think if you're content with what you have, you can have happiness. All of us have grown up hearing stories about poor people also who are happy and rich people who are not
Yep.
happy. And the reason for that ultimately comes down to whether you're content with what you have or not.
Very smart and very wise. What's your favorite type of vacation?
So getting to spend time with my family, traveling around the world. I have this ritual that me and my brothers and sisters, including my cousins, first cousins, we go on an annual trip every year, celebrating this family time together. And I think that is one of the traditions that I cherish the most.
If you could have lunch with anyone, dead or alive, who would it be?
Oh, there are three people that come to my mind. One is, of course, Barack Obama. He's such a cool president, and he has so much exposure and so much insights, not only about how the world runs, but also about philosophy. That is one. Naval Ravikant, that comes to me, another person. He, to the people who do not know Naval Ravikant, he's a very prolific investor as well as, in many ways, a philosopher and a mentor to a lot of people. His take on the world uh, is really very interesting, and that is someone that I really deeply respect. The third person is his name is he goes by the name of Sadhguru. He's an Indian mystic who has been preaching a lot about spirituality and philosophy, and he's really one of the more, like, he has received Padma Bhushan or Padma Shri award in India, which is the highest civilian award in India, and he teaches a lot about yoga, meditation, spirituality, philosophy, and as I mentioned, I'm big into meditation, and I've been deeply affected. My viewpoint towards life, philosophy has been deeply impacted by his teachings and his philosophy.
Nice. I really like that. And if you had to describe your outlook in one quick motto, what would it be?
Be a good human and do good things.
Well said. Nalin, if people want to learn more about Bujo, what's the best way to do that?
You can reach out to me personally. I'm available at nalin@getbujo.com. Uh, we have a website at getbujo.com. You can also reach out to me on LinkedIn. Would love to have this discourse with audience members and CX leaders who are listening to this podcast. We are going through this Y Combinator program once again. We are now looking to work with more enterprise customers and more business leaders who wants to transform their customer support centers with the help of AI. So please feel free to reach out. Think of me as someone who has been working in AI space for last 10, 15 years and who can provide some technical tips on how to think about using AI in your current workflows.
Nalin, this has been so interesting. I've learned so much from you. Looking forward to connecting again and a second coffee that we can have together. And everybody, head over to cignara.com to learn more. Thanks for watching. Please don't forget to like or subscribe and follow my social content on other platforms where I post content daily, including X, Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, and more.